going to listen to a group of young adults talk a little bit about some of their experiences, their hopes, and their dreams. So let's welcome our young adults at GA for this panel discussion.
So hi y'all, you might remember me as part of the Tri-Mod. I know, it's a different role now. But we're gonna spend some time just chatting. We wanted to take the opportunity at this General Assembly to think about how we experience race, racism, and oppression differently in a truly intersectional way, talking about how it interacts with class and gender and sexuality. And so we're going to take just a few minutes to do that. For the time being, I want to start at the end, and I invite you to tell us your name, your gender pronouns, and any other important information that we should know about you.
Great. So my name is Reverend Renwa Hamami. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. And I identify as Egyptian Lebanese and as a Unitarian Universalist Muslim.
I'm Charlie Smith. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I identify as a Black UU.
Good morning, all. My name is Vanessa Burchell. I go by the pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and I identify as an atheist Unitarian Universalist.
Hi, my name's Casey Slack. My pronouns are they, them, and I am white and a UU pagan.
And finally, as your panel moderator, I'm Greg Boyd. I use he, him, his, and I'm a Black Unitarian Universalist. So we'll just go down the line in the same way again. I want to know, what are a few ways that race has shaped your experience of General Assembly during this week, or even in comparison to other General Assemblies?
I appreciate that you told me I wasn't going to have to go first if I sat in this chair, so thank you.
Oops.
So one way that I feel that this experience, that my experience as an Egyptian Lebanese and Unitarian Universalist Muslim person has been shaped this GA has been that I've honestly kept largely to people of color spaces, partially because of my role, and partially because I knew that those were spaces where I would feel safe and would be held in community. And as a part of going to those spaces, it's actually been really wonderful to see youth and young adults finding those communities, sometimes for the very first time, and connecting with people that have been a part of our faith for so long. The flip side to that is I've noticed that some of my elders and my mentors are not in the room. And it's been hard to see that gap of people who have either left Unitarian Universalism or have died or been pushed out because of their race or ethnicity. So that's been part of how my experience is shaped in those spaces. And related to that, I feel that I've found myself in a more empowered place because I have that community. And so when I am out in the larger GA world, I know my power to challenge the microaggressions and macroaggressions that I experience sometimes when leading workshops, and feel like, yes, I am allowed to interrupt and engage with problematic language or actions.
Thank you.
So as a youth of color at GA, it's been a really great experience. It's been a lot better than the last GA I was at. Like you mentioned, I was able to seek out spaces specifically for youth of color, which was nice. I feel like as a community, we're doing well with race, but we're not doing nearly well enough. How many of you are wearing Black Lives Matter memorabilia? I'm not sure that we all should be. There's like people with dreadlocks who are not black. There's people using African American vernacular English when they are not black. And I feel like if you want to be able to wear that badge, saying that our lives really do matter to you, then you need to not just be doing that here in our community. You need to be out there living it. I know it can be hard when someone calls you out on your behavior, but you need to realize that this is not the time for that. Now is the time to put away your tears and stand up for people of color.
What's interesting is that my whole GA has been shaped by race because I am the inaugural Thrive at GA coordinator here at this General Assembly. So my sole function, thank you, my sole function has been to ensure that there were space and support for people of color, indigenous folks, to be able to feel safe here at GA. And so that's been the majority of what I've been doing with my time and ensuring that I was that bridge to connect them to those spaces, the drum space, the blues space, so that they could be able to go get some safety, maybe get some support from some of those chaplains and be able to still enjoy GA. This has been a very different experience as compared to my other GA experiences. I was in Portland, and then I was also in Columbus. And I remember walking away brokenhearted and crying during both of those GAs at various times. And at this one, I've only had one hiccup, but I think I could be able to deal with that. And I'm just really glad that I was able to even be here and be a support person. And I hope that my presence allow other folks to be able to have a positive, refreshing General Assembly.
I think as a white person, race at GA affects me in the same way that it affects me everywhere, which is to say it shapes how I interact with the world. And I see so clearly how easy it would be for me to behave as though my race was invisible. Right? In a white space, it's really easy as a white person to just be like, well, I'm neutral. This is fine. I don't have to think about that. But I do. And white folks, you do. In this context, I think white people get a little too comfortable, right? We have our Black Lives Matter badge on, and we say, oh, look how good I am. Yeah, okay, keep working. So for me, it's I have access to conversations that might be draining for y'all, and I don't want to ever cause you to be drained, and so where I can, I'm gonna step in. And I really want to challenge white folks in the audience to think hard about the kind of heartbreak we've heard from our people of color, the kind of, hey, you're not there yet, that people of color in our congregations, especially Black and indigenous folks, and especially our Muslim siblings, are telling us like, hey, you're using our stuff and you're not actually showing up for me. So, white folks, let's get it together.
Thanks, friends. So the next thing I want to do is invite you into a period of dialogue just about how is race impacting your spiritual life right now. I invite you to dialogue so you can be a little bit more responsive here. We don't have to just go down the line.
I love that everybody's looking at me. This is great.
Renwa, you're our leader now.
Well, I will. You know, I think some of what has resonated with me, particularly Vanessa and Casey, what I appreciated was this acknowledgement of the fact that we've done a lot of work, and Charlie, you explicitly calling out some of the things that are still happening. One of the phrases that goes through my head nonstop these days comes from the Quran, where there's a verse that says, through hardship there is also ease. Mm-hmm. And I feel like so many of us that are Unitarian Universalists of color are just pushing and pushing and pushing. And now we're at a place where things are breaking open, And maybe this is our ease, and our white folks do more
Right.
of the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed that is in common between my UU communities and my pagan communities is a tendency for white folks to overstep. A tendency for white folks to say, oh, well, but I'm not straight, cis, white Christian, so I'm not the problem. And there's a lot of like, let me take on stuff that's yours. So I've noticed that we've been saying Ashe a lot. And listen, I'm gonna leave it to people of color to make that decision, but white folks, how about we don't say that on our own? It doesn't belong to us. I want us to contextualize stuff, and I know in pagan communities there's a bad habit of being like, oh, well, this Hindu goddess is mine, without any attachment to Hindu community. So if you're not meaningfully in community, be careful about what you're using.
I also identify as pagan, and like you said, it's a predominantly white, like, religious practice.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to seek out spaces where you can worship the way you want to, but still feel comfortable, because we do have people, like, appropriating stuff that's not for us, and I have been guilty of that. Mm-hmm. That's right, Black people can appropriate other cultures. And I feel like it is for all of us to unlearn. We all have tendencies that we need to work on. I do, we all do. But I feel like as you use, that's a door opener for us. It should be a pathway. It makes it easier.
I'm still thinking.
Okay.
Well, I'll connect to something that Casey, you mentioned about being in relationship too. You know, as a UU Muslim, I will always harp on how much we love "Come, Come, Whoever You Are" because it's a beautiful song. And if we're not actively engaging in the Muslim and Islamic theologies it draws upon, we're appropriating it. Yeah. We're appropriating the words of a Sufi Muslim and not engaging with that particular faith tradition. And that, for me, is actually reflective of a culture of white supremacy, where we are picking the pieces that are a good fit for our faith and ignoring the context and the culture and the peoples that it's coming from. And when we encounter those pieces, it makes us uncomfortable. Yeah. So that's something that I've also really experienced.
Absolutely. And it's the case that each of us comes from a particular context, and we can, in relationship, learn and grow so much. And it's not that you can't have access to the wisdom, right? It's not that you can't get there. It's that you have to have a real relationship. And it has to be expanding for everybody and not expanding for you and narrowing for everyone else.
I think it's also very interesting when you said the "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." And I remember NGA last year where during one of the services she said, we all love that song, especially the lovers are leaving part when things get difficult. And so that's really important to recognize, is that that being able to show up and that being able to stay when the things get difficult and not just leave because it doesn't quite fit your ideal, or it doesn't, you think that, oh, I'm not the person that they're speaking to. Everything that's said, even if you are doing everything right, you can learn from that, and you can be able to sharpen what it is that you're doing within your communities, and really ensuring that folks are getting that. It's no good if you're the only person walking around woke. You have to go out and give that to other people, and ensure that you call them out when things are said and done that's not appropriate.
Well, we're coming to that time where we need to close down, but before we go, I'd like to invite you to give us a one-sentence takeaway on your experience of race and spiritual practice as informed by this General Assembly. Do not look at me like that.
I will look at you. I will look at you with all kinds of love. One sentence.
Yeah, it can be a run-on. It's fine.
Lots of commas and clauses?
Yeah. But make it like a 15-second sentence.
Okay, give me a sec.
No,
I'll
don't
go first,
look
though,
this
Rena
way.
doesn't have to.
No, I'm looking that way.
Okay, one sentence. We have a lot of growing left to do, and the people with the most power need to be ready to be wrong and uncomfortable out of love.
I'm still here in this faith because I believe that you can do this work.
We're almost there. We're so close. That's what I want to say. We're almost there, you guys.
I'll give you another Quranic verse. Humanity transgresses when we think we are self-sufficient. We need each other, and we need those forces greater than us to keep moving forward in this work.
Yes.
Let's have a final round of applause for all of our panelists. Thank you.